Hello and welcome to the Bikes or Death podcast. My name is Patrick and I am your host. And on this episode, I got an opportunity to talk to Scotti and Ernie Lechuga. But before we get to that show, I kind of need to set the stage for this episode a little bit. Hopefully you listened to the last episode and all of this will make a little bit more sense. But if you didn't, here's a quick recap. Fayetteville is going to be hosting the start and finish line of the Arkansas High Country Race, and they hired me to promote and cover the race this year. And part of that was that they invited me up to come and ride part of the route. So we started there in Fayetteville, Arkansas, and that's what we talked about on the last episode. So you might want to go check that one out. But on the way there, Brannon Pack, who works there at Fayetteville, he said, hey, you should swing by and talk to Scotti and Ernie Lechuga. They're there in Little Rock, and they have the FKT, or the fastest known time, for the Arkansas High Country Race that they set as a couple. So he's like, yeah, you should go talk to them on the way and get a feel for what you're in for, and just chat with them about the route and stuff. That's how I went into this episode. I didn't do any research on them. I should have. I was just busy getting, work and family and all that stuff situated before I went on a trip, as one does. And kind of just went into this episode blind and was really blindsided by their story. I'm not going to, get into the whole thing right now, but they have an amazing story. They're both ex-pro racers turned bike packers, and I was just floored. I had so many questions. I had no idea what I was walking into, but, on some level, it's good to walk into an interview prepared and know who you're talking to and be able to ask all the right questions. I definitely see how that's good, but I also like talking to somebody and finding out just this incredible story that you didn't know, and then having very real and genuine reactions to that, and so there's kind of a delicate balance there, but I will say that this is probably one of my personal favorite episodes, just because of how it really was a dynamic of going in completely blind, thinking I'm going to be talking about one thing, and then realizing that there's just so much more here to talk about. I was like a kid in a candy store. I just I could have talked to them all day. So this one is a little bit longer, but I hope that y'all enjoy it as much as I did. So like I said, this episode was actually recorded before the one that I just released about the Arkansas High Country Race. We wanted to get that episode out with all the information about the route and registration and all the details before registration opened. And it opened on the 15th. And I'm happy to say that there are only 24 spots left. It'd be awesome if it was sold out right now, but that just means that there's an opportunity for you to get in on the action. If you have been looking for a way to challenge yourself in a beautiful place, then this is a great opportunity. I'm going to be back there in June. The race kicks off on June 4th. I will be there a few days before, conducting some interviews, just hanging out, and of course I'm going to ride out on the start line and give a proper send-off. Really just looking forward to hanging out with a bunch of cool people, and being a little bit jealous that I won't be able to be out there riding with you the whole time, but I'm excited to do some interviews and get to talk with some of y'all one-on-one. The easiest way to register is to go to the Arkansas High Country Races Facebook page, and there is a link there to registration. Like I said, there's only 24 spots left, so go sign up, and I will see you there at the start and finish line in Fayetteville. All right, just a couple housekeeping notes. This episode just kind of starts in the middle of a conversation that we were having. Thought it was kind of funny, so I left it in. And there is a point in the episode where somehow it stopped recording. So I didn't miss anything, but we just stopped recording for a second, and it kind of got us off our rhythm a little bit. But, things happen. So sorry about that. And that's it. Let's get to the show.
You load up your bike, you ride away from home. You could be with your friends or you could be alone. You ride for a day or maybe more. You just love being in the great outdoors. Everything you need is strapped to your bars, including that new pillow you got from Santa Claus. And then you think, oh shit, to yourself. You left that super lightweight tent on the living room shelf. Bikes or death. Bikes or death. Podcast.
I don't remember how. Probably alcohol was involved, and I somehow thought that I would.
It softens you up for things to do.
Yeah, you're like, yeah, I have great ideas when I'm drinking, and so it led to a podcast, and it's been going really well.
That's awesome.
All right. Well, if y'all are ready, I'm ready.
Yeah, I think we're
Good to go.
Good to go.
Okay. First off, Scotti and Ernie, what are your last names?
Lechuga.
Lechuga.
Yeah, so it means lettuce, right?
Perfect.
Yeah, it means. Yeah, my grandpa was a farmer, and I'm just kidding. No, he didn't do that. No,
He was from Mexico.
no, he was from Mexico. A Mexican farmer. Right, kind of goes together. It works pretty well. Either that, or it's gonna be like Ernie Sheetwall or something like that. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah,
Ernie
Lechuga.
Oh my god.
Was that a Mexican joke? Did you just tell
It
a
was
Mexican
like
joke?
everybody tells me, "Hey, come here, you gardener," or can you work on my drywall?" Or all the time. It doesn't stop.
Oh, you're like, this is why I live in a bus, so I don't have to worry
Exactly.
about
No
drywall.
kidding. I tell people
And mowing a yard.
Yeah.
You figured
No
it
yard.
out.
No drywall.
No drywall. I don't do any of that stuff.
I don't do any of it either. All right. Now it's Lechuga.
Lechuga.
Lechuga. Okay.
Yeah. Is it now?
All right.
As Kelly puts it, Kelly is the Trek store manager, and he's the lettuce man. Like, I'm just gonna put lettuce on everything. I'm like, okay, whatever. So now all our passwords are not our passwords, but
Usernames.
our usernames are like Ernie Lettuce, and I'm like,
I was like, yeah, let's get your password on audio real quick.
not
Good one,
password,
Ernie.
not
Social
password.
security number, bank account.
Exactly, social, everything.
All right. Well, Bikes or Death is on the road. Today I am in Little Rock, Arkansas, sitting down with Ernie and Scotti Lechuga.
Yes, you got it.
All right. It means lettuce.
Yes, it does.
So I'm just going to call you Ernie and Scotti Lettuce. I guess everybody else does.
Exactly. Perfect. I love it.
Where are we right now, Ernie?
So we are in Trek Little Rock, bike shop. They just bought this bike shop that's been around forever, chain wheel, and Trek just took it over about 3 months ago.
Yeah, less than half a year.
So
How long you guys been living in Arkansas?
Oh, over a decade. Neither of us grew up here, but we kind of met in the middle. He's from LA. Well, actually, he's from Mexico originally, but moved to LA when he was 10, and I grew up on the East Coast in North Carolina. And both of us found jobs here. Oddly enough, both of us ride bikes as well, and so we kind of met through this very place that we're sitting in right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
yeah, she walked in the door and she's like, "I want to turn pro," and I was like, "What?" Like, "Do you have a bike?" He's like, "Yes, my dad's like 1975 Schwinn bike," and I was like, "That's not gonna cut it." That is not
when
gonna
was
cut it.
this?
This was in probably 2007 or 2008. I'd moved here just after college, missed being an athlete. I grew up being a runner and got sideswiped with injuries. And I really wanted to compete in cycling, I decided, because that was way easier on your legs. And he was the only person I could find in Arkansas who had raced professionally on the road. And so I sought him down, like, with a target and came and found him.
You're
and
mine, bitch.
literally just said,
You can cuss. It's fine.
Sorry.
something like that. Yeah. Asked him to coach me and literally had a down tube shifter bike at the time.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so I go from not a cyclist
Yeah.
to I want to be pro.
I'd always wanted to be an athlete. Even as a little girl, I remember just watching the Olympic Games and thinking to myself, man, I want to be an athlete. I love that lifestyle. And so I thought it would be running for the longest time, and had a really successful running, if you want to call it career, as a teenager. And actually, that's why I went to Baylor, was to run for the school there. And I had a major back surgery when I was 17, and I just got, benched for a whole year recovering from that, and never really quite got it back after that, and ended up redshirting my whole freshman year, and then just deciding that it wasn't the experience that I was really after.
Yeah.
So I took a step back from sports altogether, and a few years later just really missed the community, missed the drive, and like just the ability to push yourself on a daily basis in training, all that stuff. And so I pulled my dad's old bicycle out of the garage, and I think I put some new tubes in it and showed up at a group ride in tennis shoes and like those Umbro shorts, remember,
Yes.
from like the 90s?
I remember them very well. We're the same age, I can tell.
And I got the cold shoulder from just about everybody in their Lycra and,
All the pro
and clip-in
cyclists.
shoes. They're like, "You're here for this group ride?" And I
Yeah.
said, "Yeah." And they dropped me within 2 miles. And that was when I knew, like, I want to do this. For some reason, that just was the kick in the ass that I needed.
Seeing
So-
like how bad you were.
yeah,
like,
I
in
was like, wow, I
comparison,
have
you're-
so much to learn.
was there a part of you that wanted to like show up in your Umbros and like kick all their asses?
I knew so little at the time that it wasn't until I got to that group ride that I started noticing things like, oh wow, their
I don't belong
shoes
here.
connect to their pedals. These were things that I didn't grow up watching cycling. I
Yeah.
had no idea what I was getting into.
Yeah.
But I just loved it. I loved it.
Well, since we're on the topic, why don't we get your individual backgrounds in, I guess, road cycling? We can start there.
Yep.
Yeah, just give us a little background on each of you.
So I started riding when I was 10, and then I won junior nationals, got on the U.S. national team, started traveling the country. And back in the day, there was amazing junior teams, right? There was
and this is road.
This is road. This is all road. Like no off road whatsoever. Like I'm not an off road kind of guy. I wasn't at the time. I got the bug, right? Because I won junior nationals, got on this junior team, and we just started traveling the country. There was probably 6 junior stage races across the country that were pretty big. Like you would have 150 juniors back in the day that were going to, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18s. And the fields were stacked. That was back when like George Hincapie days and when he was growing up. So there was plenty of juniors to go around and be really competitive, and plenty of stage races, to do that in. So got the bug there, started traveling, went to Mexico, got on the Mexican national team, and then they said, "Hey, you need to stay here. We're going to take you to the World Championships. You're pretty decent." So I got to go to the Worlds for Mexico. Then I came back to the United States, got on Danny Van Hout, which is the guy that ran Jelly Belly for the longest time. Okay. He's like, "Hey, you need to come on board. I'm going to start this under 23 development program, and I think you would be great at it." So it was called Mrs. T's Lexus back in the day, before Jelly Belly. So I'm like, great. So I got on that, got on his team, same thing, just traveling. Loved it, just because you're on the road all the time. I guess I was okay at it, where it kept me.
He's being super humble.
Yeah.
Tell us the truth.
He's a great cyclist.
So yeah. So anyways,
What's your specialty? Are you climber, sprinter?
Well,
I'm not a huge roadie. I know
Time trial champion.
Time trial
yeah,
champion.
I won. Yeah, but I wasn't very good time trialist. It was just.
He's
yeah.
just a champion.
Right.
Oh, okay.
I won time trial national champions from Mexico, but I never, when I did it in the U.S., I just didn't focus enough. I wanted to be everything, and because I wanted to be everything, I wasn't good at anything.
Yeah.
So I was just okay at everything, right? And that's kind of.
You were the solid guy in the group.
I was. Yeah. What do you need? Like, get a bottle. I'll go get the bottle. You need to chase that guy down. I'll chase that guy down. You need me to be in the front all day. I'll get in the front all day.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Okay.
So, and I think at the time, now looking back, I was just probably scared of pushing for myself, and that was my crutch of like, all right, I'm gonna beat myself up, help everybody else, and I was like, damn it, why wasn't I there at the end? And I should have been there at the end. It's like, no, you didn't. You couldn't have been there. You did all the work. You brought bottles. You took everybody. So,
You got to be a little more selfish.
Exactly. You know, and I'm not very good at being selfish. So,
well, there's worse qualities to have.
Right.
So that's why I was trying to be good at everything. And I wasn't very good at anything. So I just pretty average. So turned pro with Jelly Belly, raced with them for a bit. Then I got to get on a bigger team, which was Mercury Cycling Team, which was like the competition to U.S. Postal back in the day. U.S. Postal team, Lance Armstrong. So there was another American team called, sponsored by Mercury. And I got to go to the under 25 Tour de France, Tour de l'Avenir. And then I crashed. I got cancer. And then so stopped for like a year and a half, kind of taking care of that. And then came back and then went back to Tour de l'Avenir. So, and then after that, Tony Karklin's offered me a job here with ARHCR. And I just came to town, and I was here. So that's kind of
doing what with ARHCR?
The goal was to be inside sales for South America. Tony wanted to take over South America,
Gotcha.
but at the time, U.S. was U.S. and then South America would be something different. And Tony wanted to be able to take up, U.S. and South America. So that never happened, and that's how I ended up here at this bike shop. Tony was an owner of Chainwheel, and he asked me if I had any retail experience, and I was like, no idea how to sell a bicycle.
I'm good at riding
whatsoever. I can ride them. I don't know how to speak English either, so at the time. So my vocabulary was very small. It still is. So he put me here to work, get some retail experience, and he's like, okay, in about a year, I want you to come back and, sell bikes, for me, for ARHCR. And after the year went up, I just love being around people. I love teaching them what I learned on the road.
Yeah.
So I loved retail, and I just stayed here, just kind of sharing that wealth.
What was the thing that precipitated you from stepping away from pro cycling and taking obviously like a different career path?
So, so it was the same thing, right? I think I wasn't, I was scared of success, I guess. I was scared to take that next step and just, focusing on one particular thing, right? I think if I would have, when I focused on time trials, I won junior and I won the, under 23 national championship time trial. But I didn't, and at the time I had this coach in Mexico and I lived with him for a bit. And he helped me kind of get focused, and we just trained for that specific discipline. And then I think I got scared. It hurt too much to just do one discipline, right? And I stepped away. So I believe that it was, me just not having that mentality, like, I wanted to be good at everything, and I was not good at anything. So
as you're talking, does it bother you? Is this something that weighs on you a little bit?
It really does. It does because if I knew now, if I knew, then when I know now, I think I would be a completely different person, right?
Well, that's interesting. We'll talk about this in a little while, but I'm wondering how much of that is pushing you now, because this is a bikepacking centric podcast, and so far we're talking about road cycling. Everybody's like, "Wait a second."
I know. Sorry.
No, it's fine. I asked the question. When are we going to talk about bikepacking?
Yeah. No.
But no. That's fascinating. The road cycling is a world that I've watched Tour de France and some California tours and stuff like that. So I don't have a lot of background in road cycling, understanding it. So I like bikes, so whatever it is, road, gravel, let's do that.
Yeah, for sure.
What about you, Scott? Oh, sorry.
No,
was that good? Was that good?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm good with that.
Yeah, Scotty, let's hear
the
your
cool thing is to segue.
I want to. At what point in his career and stuff did you run into him? I'd like to kind of connect that dot.
It's pretty cool because, like he was just saying, he had stepped away by the time I met him, but was still really active in the cycling community. But when I met him, the cool thing is I think he saw in me, he saw some potential, and basically the mentor that he wished he had, he became for me. And so this guy, accelerated my learning curve so far because he just thought of what he wished someone had given him as he was developing, and he really poured all that into my career. So when I told him I wanted to turn professional, he he just trusted blindly. Like, I don't know what he saw, but he said, "Hey, guess what? If you can stay on my wheel."
I was looking at the legs and I said yes.
No, he made me come on this like 40-mile ride, which is at the time way further than I'd ever gone, and said, "If you can stay on my wheel, I'll coach you." And so he put me through this like ringer of a 40-mile ride, and I bonked and had to drink a Coke, I think, mid-ride. And
it's funny because she was like, "Hey," she brought that bike, and I was like, "You can't ride that bike, your dad's bike. So I'm gonna let you borrow one of my bikes." And then so I fitted her that morning, and she got on the bike and rode. We get to like midpoint, 20-something miles in, and I'm like, "Hey, I'm gonna get you something that's gonna help you, right?" So we stop at the gas station, and I get her a Coke. He's like, "Oh, I don't drink Cokes. It's not good for you to drink Cokes." And I was like, what planet are you from, girl? So she's like, "Just try this Coke. You're going to feel better as soon as you try it." She tried it. Yeah. Well, it was like my first ride with her ever.
Yeah.
So, and I gave her the Coke, and she's like, "Oh my God, I've been missing out."
Yep.
That's when she knew you were the real deal.
Exactly. I was like, "You gotta go."
Love at first sight.
Next, you gave her a chocolate milk for recovery, and it was like all over.
Yeah.
No,
so that's kind of how like that story really went down. But
yeah, and I haven't stopped drinking Coke since then. But anyway, Ernie basically agreed to coach me, and it was through that process. Like, I started at a Cat 4 at the time, just like every other female that wants to begin road racing. You know, I started at the beginning, and
I was kind of using her though, because at the time I was training for triathlons, and I needed someone to like paddle the canoe, right?
So you didn't drown?
Exactly.
For his open water
because I don't
swims.
know how to
Yeah.
swim, right? I don't know how to swim at all. So I was like, "Hey, I'll coach you if you come paddle the
this
canoe with
boat."
me, so I don't die."
Fair.
Right?
Trade.
Yeah.
So she said, I tell her it was for all that, but in reality, now that we're on podcast and stuff, that's the real reason why.
Seems like a good time to let
Yeah,
the world
you got to
know
tell
the
everybody, you know. This way she doesn't slap you when you're like, "What are you
breaking
talking
news on the
about?"
Bikes or Death podcast.
Exactly.
Ernie was doing it for selfish reasons. Scotty, what do you have to say about this?
Couples.
Turn this into Jerry Springer real quick.
Still think I got the better end of that. But no, I started racing, and I won't make this too dramatic, but we fell in love that year. We really had a lot in common. Just fell in love. I don't know what else to say.
That's it.
It happens.
It happens.
Yeah, it happens.
But we were spending a lot of time together. Decided to, date each other. And within a year, I think actually about a year later, I wound up pregnant. Imagine that.
She got pregnant. I have no idea why.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah.
No, like you.
We'll talk later, Ernie.
Exactly. Yeah, please. I need
But
to know.
at the time, like, I'd gone from a Cat 4 to a Cat 2, and I was feeling pretty good about, my acceleration through the first year of my, trying to become a pro, which is what I had started out. And then I got pregnant, and it was like, was not planned.
No.
And I didn't really even see myself having kids in the future. So
I think she planned it. She wanted to keep me forever. That's what it was.
Yeah, smart.
Whatever.
Yes, yeah. She's like, "I'm keeping you forever, sucker."
But
and then we found out we had twins. We're
yeah,
like, "What the?"
yeah.
Oh, those kids, they're twins?
Yeah.
Oh, I met their kids earlier, and I could tell they were close in age, but I didn't realize they were twins. So
Yeah.
which ones are they? It's like
So we've got
Turtle
Eli and Ethan, and the reason that you wouldn't think they were twins is one looks Mexican and one looks white.
One's a beaner and one's a white boy.
And so, and one's about 20 pounds heavier than the other. And yeah, when I found out I was having twins, I thought my dreams of cycling were over.
Yeah.
I really did. I thought, I decided, what, I'm just going to do mom. And he was like, a lot of moms still ride bikes after they have kids, and I wouldn't mind supporting you if you still want to try it.
She was a really good cyclist, so I didn't want her dreams to go away just because she got pregnant, because it was her
playing a
fault.
supportive role.
Right? It was her fault. She got pregnant. I was like, "Hey, I'll help you out."
Yeah.
It's like.
Yeah.
So
You felt bad for her.
I did. I was
Yeah.
like, "Darn it, girl, what'd you do?"
Darn it, had a couple kids.
It was that damn drinking again, right?
Don't blame this on drinking.
So, and
We have these two precious boys, and they're the light of my life, of course. I mean, whoever knows me knows that I wouldn't change a minute of all that, even though it wasn't a planned deal.
Yeah.
But they've been a part of my journey, and we just decided that when I started pursuing cycling again, that they were just going to come with us everywhere we went. And that was going to be how they grow up. And so literally when they're 7 months old, I enter my first pro race, and Ernie's got them in the back of a car in the caravan.
So I'm feeding the kids a bottle, right, in the back in the caravan, and I have another water bottle out the window with Scotty. And I was like, got it, girls, about 3 minutes up the road. Come on.
This is awesome. I love it.
Yeah. So we made it a family affair from day one. And my cycling career, thanks to Ernie, I mean, he made me do all the things. I feel like a lot of girls, they'll get really strong first, and then they'll learn pack skills. For me, I didn't have that strength. I'd just come off of a twin pregnancy. I weighed like 75 pounds more than I do now. So my body was not in shape, but he said, hey, if I can teach you how to hide in a Peloton, if I can teach you how to be really comfortable with handling skills, you're going to be able to hang in there, I promise. And so I was finishing like in the group with girls that were so far advanced than me, just because of what he was teaching me. And so when the boys were a year old, I ended up getting on the U.S. national team. I got to go to Europe and race, and then I got my first pro contract and ended up racing for 4 of the best UCI teams in the U.S. So I guess 6 years or so I was on the pro circuit.
Wow. And when did that come to an end?
Just this past, I guess 2018. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, just recently. And I had some really great success. 2016 was probably my best season. And that was the year that we bought our RV and decided we were going to just take the boys all over the country.
Yeah, we sold our house, got an RV, and
I have so many questions right now.
yeah.
All right, I'm going to start with, so I too have had this crazy idea, being a father of 2 girls, of distance learning, learning on the road. I remember there's a podcast I listened to about a girl, and I don't remember her name now, but she grew up on the road, and her parents were professional whitewater kayakers.
Wow.
That's cool.
And she became one of the best in the world at age 14. Wow. And I listened to a podcast with her. She's so well spoken. She had so much knowledge from living and from experiencing life.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, there could be something there, but I'm very, very curious. Can you tell me about that experience and how that went? And I don't know.
I had a lot of, I think I'm the same as any mom who has this dream. You kind of second guess yourself all the time. You're like, am I being too selfish? Yeah. By chasing my own dreams versus giving my kids the chance to do this or that. Right. For me, it was really important that my kids see me do that. That was how I justified it in my mind was, okay, they're going to witness their mom and their dad doing something they're really passionate about. And to the point that they're going to just drag us along with them. And, I think they ask me all the time, they'll see me doing a workout and sweating my brains off on the trainer. And they'll be like, was that hard? And I'll tell them, yeah, you know what? It was hard, but I got through it. And then they'll go try something that's hard for them. And that to me is just as valuable as them learning a math equation. Like,
it's a tough thing to do as a parent. I definitely sympathize with that struggle. I truly believe a certain element of selfishness is valuable in that, you have to take care of yourself. You need to be happy where you're at. And I think from the kid's perspective, like listening to you talk, I'm thinking, man, what would the kid prefer? That they're watching their parents do something that they love and they're excelling at, or even if they fail, but they're really just like pouring themselves into something, or they go and work an 8 to 5 and they're miserable and come home every day and they're like, oh, this is drained. The pits, or whatever. So
exactly.
Yeah, I get it. So,
and again, I for me, it goes back to, I grew up, my mom and dad, like they did everything for me. Right. And I was like, man, whenever I have kids and I'm doing anything, I'm going to bring them along all the time. I love it. So it took me a while to convince Scotty that
RV
life was a great life. Right? It worked out it's been working out pretty well so far. Yeah. But yeah, when I did junior nationals the year I won, my dad, we slept in the back of a 56 Chevy. That we didn't, the hotels were all like, my dad doesn't organize anything. He had all the hotels were booked and like, hey dad, there's no hotel rooms. Like, we're just going to sleep in the car.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, let's sleep in the car,
Like
whatever.
that. Yeah, man.
So I was like, whenever I grow up, I'm going to have something better than a car to sleep in.
You got an RV.
I got an RV,
It's
right?
literally one step up.
Yeah.
Well, I guess a van would be one step, and then an RV
Yeah.
is like the second
Yeah.
step up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I just know how much I learned from being on the road. And I lived in people's homes and couches and, since I was like 15. And I think we still do it now. And then whenever we had the kids and we were staying at friends' houses, and we were like, man, we can't have our snotty kids like drool all over their dog and all over their couches and stuff. So why don't we get our own place, and then the kids can make a mess. And it was just so much better for us. And they're like, no, we can't do that. He's like, I want to be I want to be in a place. I'm like, let's just try it. Let's just try it. If you don't like it, we can always
do
go
it
back.
for a year.
Yeah, let's just try it.
Well, 4 years later, we're still living in that damn bus.
I love it. I'm truly fascinated in how people prioritize their lives. Like if you find out that something's meaningful to you and providing value, then how do you situate your life to do both things? You want to be a good parent, absolutely. You want the best for your kids, but you also want to pursue your passions and live a purposeful life and stuff. So I think it's valuable for people to hear, like, it's not like you guys got $1 million in the bank and you're like going, I mean, you're just like, well, this is what we want to do and we want to figure it out and we're going to try it. And, I think it's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're trying to make it happen every day.
Yeah.
And plus, I mean, we're talking about bikes here,
Yeah.
It's like, it's an awesome sport, right? Just to ride a bike. And it's a perfect way to see the world. Just because it's just perfect speed, and you don't have, you're walking is too slow, you're driving a car is too fast, cycling is just amazing. It merges so many different cultures and everybody rides a bike. Everybody knows how to ride a bike.
Yeah. I love, amen. Preaching on the Bikes or Death podcast about bikes.
Yeah.
Hey, well, I didn't intend to talk to you about this, but 2 episodes ago, as we're sitting here talking, I interviewed Roger Gillis, who's the author of a book called Women on the Move.
Okay.
And his book highlights an area in our history from 1895 to 1902 where women's endurance cycling was at its peak.
Wow.
And was also the most well-attended, most popular sport in North America at that time. They were filling stadiums 6 days a week. They were filling stadiums with like 10 to 15,000 people getting paid as professional cyclists back in 1900.
Oh my
No
God.
idea.
You didn't know. I didn't know either. It turns
crazy.
out I'm related. I got Dottie tattooed on my leg. But I was watching a documentary and they mentioned Dottie Farnsworth. And then this guy, Roger Gillis, wrote a book. And the history about women's cycling is not well known. I mean, you're a women's cyclist, had no idea.
Yeah.
I've been a lifelong cyclist. I'm related to one of them. I had no idea.
That's so cool.
interesting.
And
I'm gonna
so
have to get
right
that
around
book.
the area, right around the time whenever that documentary came out, and I learned about Dottie and then found out I was related to her. He just happened to release a book and was the first book really highlighting this rich history. So I talked to him about, what did women's racing look like 120 years ago? And then I just got back from Austin. I talked to Jolene Holland. She's a Cat 1 racer. She was racing for Colavita. And now runs Ultraviolet Racing.
Cool.
They're based out of Austin. And we were having the conversation about, okay, what does women's racing look like now?
Yeah.
And so I don't know, would you like to shed, y'all are in a really unique position because husband and wife, male pro cyclist, female pro cyclist. Would you be willing to just share like what it looks like now?
I think it's super interesting having now been a part of road and also off-road communities. And I think we have some room to grow in road cycling. And the reason that people are really genuinely more interested in gravel and off-road events is because of the community. You can go to a road event and it's very segmented. First of all, you have categories, and then you have pros, and then you have all these brackets that you fall into, and you're supposed to kind of stick with this group of 6 to 8 people on your team, and it's very competitive, and it's really it's not an environment where sharing is caring.
Yeah.
It's very much, and this was my experience. Other people might have a different experience, but from what I experienced, it was kind of like you learn it the hard way and you keep it to yourself. And in off-road, that has been the opposite. I've seen so much sharing, so much caring, and just a lot of community. I think everybody has a similar experience, whether you're racing balls out or whether you're just there for the party. You still do the same 100 miles or however long it is, and at the end you share stories.
Or 2,700, whatever.
Or however, however
you
long
go
that
as long as
event
you wanna
is.
go these
Like
days.
the thing is, everybody did it, and
Well, that's one thing a lot of people say is you show up for the Starlit Tour Divide and you're rubbing shoulders with Lael and Sophie on and just regular people hanging out. It's great community. And a lot of people go just for the experience of being in the room with these like really elite athletes. Just for that experience.
And I think the women's cycling has a lot of room to grow, and that's kind of, I've been thinking about, how can I give back in this particular area? And it's simply just feeling good for other people's success. For some reason, like I said, there's kind of this underlying tone in women's professional cycling where it's like, I got mine and I'm going to keep it to myself. Because there isn't that mentor system. There are some women who are trying to make a change in that, and I really respect those girls for that, because it is kind of the environment where I don't feel like we're rooting for each other at the end of the day. It is more competitive, and I love competing, but at the same time, like, whether or not the girl next to me does well is not a reflection on me. I'm there to give it my best, and she's there to give it her best. And at the end of the day, it would be awesome if we could just be a little more inclusive and happy for each other's successes.
Yeah. As a person on the periphery, that's what I see in road cycling is very cliquey and freaking whenever I ride down the street and I got my I ride my bikepacking bike or whatever with big mountain bike tires just on road. Like, I don't have a road bike. I just, ride whatever bike I have. Yeah. And I try to I wave at every cyclist. I don't try, I do. But I mean, if a roadie will wave back at me, I will like jump up and do a dance on the bike. Right? It's like once a year I'll get one to acknowledge that I'm actually, alive. And
that's funny.
It's sad.
It is kind of sad.
God, we're on the same.
But
I don't have anything against road. I mean, it's whatever.
No, that's how road cycling is for sure. We were in California last year training for Silk Road, and man, I took my bike and I went to this group ride. I took my Silk Road bike,
like the fastest group ride in LA.
And I just ride in the middle of the group and I'm attacking these guys.
I think you even left your bags on.
I didn't leave my bags on. I was like, I need to be weighted down. So I'm attacking these guys and they're just staring at me like, who the hell is this guy? Like, why is he attacking us? So the bike was like 45 pounds and these guys are like taking water bottles out, throwing them out in the climbs and stuff. And I'm like, bring it on, come on, let's have fun. And like that's where I grew up. Like, I know most of the guys because I had, my alien ship with all my bags on it. Like, they were like, who are you? You're that guy.
That's
so it was awesome. Yeah, it is. So yeah, they look at people that have bags on their bikes a little different, and they're like
That's the difference about like, talking about bike packing is it really, the bike and all the gear and stuff kind of becomes an extension of your personality. The type of riding you like to do, like you can really just build a bike. It's not just like one bike, like everybody's riding the same, most aerodynamic. It's like, you can ride anything, and make it your own and make it the adventure machine that it tackle whatever it is you want to do. And everybody thinks it's cool. It's like, oh, that's your personality. That's your bike. It's like, it's actually completely opposite where you don't, it's like people are trying not to fit in, it's like, I don't want my bike to look exactly like that, guys. Right. Like I want my gear and my style to kind of be my own and be a reflection of the riding I like to do. And I feel like that's maybe celebrated in the bikepacking scene.
Totally. Yeah, for sure. It definitely is. But it's funny because also, I think that bridge is going to be crossed here soon. Thanks to the Morton brothers, they, and all they're doing and what they've done with their films and stuff. I think
is
they're Lachlan
And Gus Morgan.
Yeah.
Oh, Lachlan Moore.
Yeah.
Thereabouts or here and
Yes.
thereabouts. Yeah.
Yeah, the Energy First team.
Exact-
And I know that, yeah, I saw a video like Energy First is like their team is going to be focused on all disciplines like Dirty Kansas, bikepacking,
Right.
road, and like going out and having fun. You probably know more about it than I do.
No, I mean, I know as much as you do. Like honestly.
Yeah.
We watched the same video.
Yeah, same video. We watched it. At the same time.
Well, that is an interesting segue. We have been seeing more like real disciplined pro racers go into bike packing or gravel racing and more of these like endurance sports. And obviously, we've touched on a little bit. Y'all are one of them. So let's start there. Like, what put adventure cycling and bike packing on your radar and wanting to pursue that?
So again, we go back. I always go back to this. I tell people it's like it's all Scotty's fault, right? Scotty got pregnant. We're still here.
Yeah.
You know,
can
like
tell.
Scotty wants to do off-road stuff. Now we're here. You know, she's been pursuing something, and I don't know what that is yet, but it's pretty amazing. So we're here because of Scotty. You know,
you don't know what she's pursuing. Is
no
that because you don't
idea.
know yet, Scotty?
So some sort of adventure, like I'm gonna hurt myself.
Something like that.
Something like I don't know.
Okay, so Scotty, you had
Yeah,
the idea.
It was my
Yeah.
initiative
All right.
for sure.
Well, let's start
I'll
there.
take, yeah.
Is it the opposite? I mean, is it like normally like, hey, I'm the guy and we're gonna do this.
Oh, I'm not touching that on this podcast.
You're on the wrong show, Ernie.
because
I don't know.
everybody thinks that it's my
This is
idea.
not Dr. Phil.
Like everyone thinks it's, dude. I'm like, no, it's
I
not.
honestly don't think that way.
Okay.
I mean,
No,
my,
you're touching it,
my
you're touching
wife
it.
is also like into adventures and traveling and outdoors, and we go and do this kind of stuff together.
Whose
So,
idea was it at first? That yours or hers?
The bike packing side was definitely mine.
Okay.
But I mean, she was definitely a willing participant. It's not like I had
Yeah.
to drag her along. So I could have equally, like, if she like heard about it first and kind of got engaged with it. But I mean, part of a neat thing is like just being a couple. Like, how many
Yeah.
couples are doing the same stuff together? You know, a lot of times it's, I don't know. I feel like if you go to when I went to the bike packing summit, I didn't see any like husband and wives or boyfriend girlfriends there. It was like men and women, but they were all just
Got
there
it.
solo.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how many
Interesting.
examples do I even have to go off of?
Yeah.
So am
Well-
I crazy? Or is she crazy? Who's the crazy one? I'm just kidding.
Whoever had the idea to get into
Pretty
adventure
sure we're both
cycling
crazy.
is the
She's the crazy one.
no. Welcome,
I told
welcome to the new reality. This is
Yeah.
where you were meant to be.
Right. So
It feels that way. So I agree with you. I agree with you.
I definitely twisted his arm to do this. In 2018, I mentioned that was my last year competing on the road.
Yeah.
And the reason for that was I really got to this place where I wasn't really experiencing a lot of growth, and I didn't think that the work that I was putting in was getting me to the level that I wanted to be at. And so
She was experiencing growth time-wise, but she wasn't getting better placing.
Yeah.
Right. Everybody else was getting stronger, but she was getting better.
Okay.
She just wasn't seeing the results that she wanted to see.
Yeah. I
But
got
she was
really
getting stronger.
fixated on performance and put a lot of pressure on myself, and it really wasn't coming from anyone else. Like, I had great coaches, great teams, very supportive environments, obviously great spouse and family system, but it was something I'd done to myself where it just became this performance loop. And when I didn't perform well, I got in a funk, and it would just follow me into training at home, and I really wasn't enjoying it like I was when I first started. And so I decided to take a step back and kind of put my bike on the shelf for a couple of months and reevaluate. And I realized that I really had lost like why I was doing it in the first place. And I know that sounds cliche, and you've probably heard that before, but somewhere along the way, the focus had become all about podiums and wattage and less about, hey, this is a catalyst for change in my life.
Yeah.
And so when I took that step back, the good thing is it allowed me to see everything that the bike had done for me, and how there was this kind of void between, okay, the bike has pushed me in all these unique ways that I could not have even imagined my life without. And now I'm this different person. Why don't I focus on that? Why don't I focus on what I've learned through
That's
the
awesome.
process?
Yeah.
and I kind of adjusted my mentality to become a learner again instead of a performer. And that was when I really was able to receive a lot of the benefits of riding a bike and take a lot more joy out of the experience. And but I was still competitive on the inside. Like I still had this like real drive to do something.
Competition is different over an extended period, like 1,000 miles is different. Is a different level of competition. Right?
We didn't know that at the time, though.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we did not know that at the time.
So in this whole like 6-month period where I stepped off the road and was just self-searching and really kind of like digging through what is it that I want to generate for myself, not what can cycling give me. It's like, well, what can I give cycling? And I have this rich history on the road, and we'd built a coaching business and we were working with all these athletes, and I'm like, what do I want to be able to tell our athletes the bike really is about? And at the end of the day, if you're going to ride a bike, it's not about the podiums and it's not about your PRs. And there's this underlying tone of, like I said, the bike is a catalyst for change in your personal life, in your real life. You know, it gives you the ability to handle tough stuff. And I think I was scrolling through Instagram, you know, dreaming about all the places that I'd like to ride. And that's when I first learned about Silk Road. I guess the first year it went off was 2018. And so the first edition had just happened, and I actually saw a picture of who I now know is Jenny Tuff. She was competing there. And she was someone that I really admired just because of her outdoor experience.
She's tough.
She's tough. And
Lives up to her name.
the things that she does are just amazing to me. And I told Ernie, like, I really want to go try something that's that hard, that takes me that far outside of my comfort zone, because I was
shaking in my shoes. I was like, are you sure you want to do this?
At this point, had she convinced you to do it as well? Or?
She did.
Okay.
Yeah.
She did.
We applied, and when we applied, we got really scared because they asked really real questions.
It took us 2 days to fill out the application.
Wow.
Because we were Googling every single question that was on that.
Oh my gosh. To make sure you could be self-supported.
Yeah,
we had
never
no
done
idea.
anything like that. You know, my idea of self-supported was like, is there a follow car that can fix my flat?
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
We didn't have bikes for off-road at all. We had only road bikes.
Wow.
So
wow,
yeah,
this is crazy. I love it.
Yeah, so it was nuts. I'm like, are you sure you want to do this? I mean, it looks pretty. I mean, go ahead and sign up. They're not going to choose us. I mean, it's just so I think, you know, the only reason they picked us to go to the event was to see if we would fail.
I doubt that.
I was like, let's see these suckers, how long they're going to last. It's not going to be very long, for sure.
Yeah.
Just for people listening, why don't you tell what the Silk Road mountain bike race is?
Yeah, the Silk Road mountain race is in Kyrgyzstan, and it's a self-supported 1,000-mile journey through remote mountain regions. And we're talking high elevation, major storm systems.
We didn't know any of this at the time, though.
You know, huge chunks of mileage where there's literally nothing to resupply. So, you know, you're filtering water, you're carrying your food and everything you need to fix your bike if you need to. And so you're just out there racing as fast as you can to a finish line that's days away. And we had no idea what that would be like before we went. And all of 2019, I decided I would race some crits. That would be a great way to prepare for bikepacking.
That was our training for Silk Road.
So
we met Jay at Land Run.
Jay Peterberry.
Jay Peterberry. So we met Jay. And
I was like a big fangirl.
She's like, hey, that's Jay Peterberry. He's like, I know, that's Jay Peterberry. It's like the only guy with that goatee.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, Jay,
you
hey,
can never
Jay,
shave that thing.
we're doing Silk Road 2 this year. And he was like, sweet, what are you guys doing to get ready? And I was like, well, I'm racing some crits. And, we're just getting our gear together.
He looked at us and he scratched his head.
He's like,
and he was like, what did you just say? Like, are you guys going to, what's your system like? And I was like, what does that mean? Like,
what's
stereo system? Like, what is the system? We don't know this. So we left Land Run after talking to him. And he was like, and I'm like, Scotty, just email the guy and ask him if he'll like help us out. You know, like we'll pay him. Like we want to go. We want to go. He won the Silk Road the year before, and we want to go learn from the master. Right? This guy's been. We looked him up. He's like been adventure
Everyone
racing
on this
since
podcast
he was
knows
a
who he is,
little
Ernie.
boy when he was born. So yeah, he agreed to help us out. Super awesome dude. And we went over to Idaho.
Yep.
And met up with him. So
We trained with Jay for 4 days, and he basically weeded out half of what we had brought. He said, "Nope, you won't need that. Nope, you don't
he
need
asked
that
us,
either."
"Do you want to be competitive or do you want to tour?" And at the time, Scott was like, "I want to be competitive," and I was like, "I don't know what I want to do. I'm with her again."
He's like, "Well, if you want to race, you need to get a different bag to sleep in because yours is like plush and it's too heavy." And so he just went through all the gear with us and helped us make some better choices based on what we wanted to do when we went. And so that was really awesome. Talked to us a lot about how we had to kind of turn off our roadie minds and forget about killing ourselves up climbs and pace better, and just lots of really useful conversations. And we left that feeling at least a little more confident, but still
Not really.
just completely in the dark. And Silk Road was an amazing experience, and we walked out of that.
Was that
just
y'all's
like,
first bike packing event?
dude? It was like the first time we'd ever camped outside.
No way.
I'm not
Yeah,
kidding.
it was the first time.
We
Jay,
were-
what was it? Jay, we camped outside, and then that was our second time.
Yeah,
Silk Road.
we
In
just
your whole lives.
Yep.
we just weren't. Neither
We're not
of us-
outdoors people. Like we were
up.
not.
See that?
Yeah,
that is so cool.
Yeah, it was really cool.
I mean, you were overcoming
Now.
so much,
Yeah.
because I came into bike packing with a pretty good history in outdoors and camping.
That's what I told her.
I had that
That's what I
part
told
licked,
her.
and I was a cyclist, and I'm like, oh, you just put it on your bike and you go. Okay, that's
Yeah,
fine. I
that
can
makes
do that.
sense.
But y'all were like fish out of a water, just
Totally.
completely.
we
Wow.
thought that we would be doing a lot more pedaling than we actually did.
Yeah. There was a time where I was at Silk Road. I was walking my bike for like the third hour, and I was like, I just want to pedal my bicycle. And I started, pedal my bike, and I started
no one
crying.
likes pushing their bike.
Nobody likes pushing their bikes, but Nelson does a really good job on making you not push your bike for hours on end.
Yeah, it was really an amazing experience. I think we both cried at least once out there.
You have to. That's the
I
rite of
cried within the
passage.
first 5 hours.
You
I
really
cried.
did.
What happened?
So like we start, and of course, like roadies, we take off. We're off the front. We're like second or third, and we were probably about 5 minutes in front of some people, and it starts raining, So we stop, just like we just stop on the side of the road, and everybody comes by because we're all wet, and we're trying to put rain gear on, which is it's so hard to put clothes on when you're wet. So it took us forever, and then we see people pass us. We get to the top of this little climb, and there's a little village. We come around the corner with like half our stuff on because we can't get it on because it's wet. And everybody's underneath,
All the people
all
who
the
knew what they
pros.
were doing waited until they found like a place to get out of the rain. And
Yeah.
we were like, oh, that was a good
That's
idea.
how you
That's
do
a great
that.
idea.
Yeah.
We see Leal. She goes under the bridge,
Yeah,
and she's
Leal
like,
finds an overpass.
yeah, she's like,
and,
she's
so quick and like pro.
streamlined,
She
streamlined.
puts on her stuff in 30 seconds and takes off, and
Yeah.
we're just still like
We're still trying to get our
a
wet
leg
gear
warmer
on.
She's got it dialed, man.
She
Her
does.
new
She
Tour Divide
really
pants,
does.
The down custom
Yes.
pants
Oh my
that she had
gosh.
designed.
She is
so
amazing.
She could sleep in them.
Yes.
And just like,
Yeah.
oh man. She's,
So that-
Next
yeah.
level.
So
Yeah.
we're wet, and we take off, and then we go from like 3,000 feet, and we're headed up to 14,000.
oh
Right.
shit.
So we get about halfway up the mountain, and it turns from like rain to sleet a little bit, and it's blowing harder. You get the further up you go the mountain, like you get that wind, and it's just it starts making you
Yeah.
really freaking cold, right? So my hands start just like freezing, and I'm like, Scotty, I need to stop because like I'm so cold, my hands are gonna fall off. Like, I've never experienced it in my entire life, right? And she's like, no, we can't stop. And I'm like, come on, please, let's stop. So we come around this bend, and there's this couple that was there touring, and they were set up. They had like an 8-person tent. They had this huge fire going, and she had tea. She was brewing tea.
Oh my gosh.
So we come around the
Talk
corner.
about a trail angel.
Yeah.
Yes, but guess what happens? The devil lady she was like, "You can't stop. You can't stop. You cannot stop."
I know. I was like, Ernie, if we stop here, we're gonna get so cold. If we just keep moving, we'll stay.
I'm like, "I'm already stopped. I'm cold."
Yeah.
She's like, "You got to keep on going." So I mean, she made me keep. I mean, we kept on going. But the craziest thing happened to me. So it went from like freezing cold hands to warm hands after that. It took 30 minutes for my body to just.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like, okay, I give up. You're gonna, whatever. So my hands got warm, and they never got cold after that, right?
Wow.
But it was 30 minutes of crying. I was like, there was tears coming down my eyes. I was like, I can't do
Frozen
this.
tears.
Frozen tears. Yeah. Actually, no, that my face was still hot, so I was just. There were still tears.
Yeah.
No, then we get past we get past the snow line, and we're still just shivering cold, and we're like, let's just strip naked and put some dry clothes on, right? So we do that, and then things change after that. We were still cold, but it wasn't that bad. We got dry. But if you knew Survival 101, you probably would have done that, wouldn't have freaked out as much, but we just had no clue.
Yeah, well, there's only one way to learn.
Exactly. Just like, we got thrown in the deep end for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
And every single climb on that race and every crazy experience we had was always, backed up by this incredible just scenery, that I think that we fell in love with. Every time it was so difficult, like it was just, you had this breathtaking views, top of the mountain or just like in the valley or, it was just, you felt so much better afterwards.
Beautiful country.
When y'all approached that event, was it your intention to ride it together?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. We didn't.
For sure. Like for me, yes. Like I am scared of the dark. I don't like to be alone. Like I'm scared of
And for
I'm scared
me,
of
like I suck at mechanical skills, and he can fix anything. He's a brilliant bike mechanic,
Okay.
and he'll make anything work. And so, like, we really, he's being kind of.
So you cuddle him at night and keep
Yes.
the monsters away, and during
Fix
the
her bike.
day he
wipe
fixes
his
the
tears.
bike.
No, I'm kidding.
exactly how it
No,
works.
He's really tough. He had
So
that.
y'all really are a good team.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Y'all really
We are.
do complement each
People
other
ask
well.
us all the time, how do you guys not just bitch at each other out there? And when you're in that type of environment, it requires such good teamwork
Yeah.
that we get along great when we're racing. It's at home where we bitch at
We
each other.
bitch at each
I
other.
get that 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you're
Yeah.
relying on each other. You're in that together.
Yeah.
You're in a tough environment. It's you against the terrain and
Yeah.
the weather and mechanicals. And it's like, why would you
Exactly.
the person
Right.
that's helping you through that?
Right.
Yeah, and for me, I love it even more just because, I mean, if it ever gets really hard and she starts like complaining, I'm like, this is your fucking idea. This is your idea.
All this
And
is
when
your
can you
fault.
say, when you can't say that at home?
No.
You
but
cannot say that at home, but you can say it there. Like I can say it there and she's like, you're right.
And I was
And like, yeah, I was right.
So
I was
bikepacking is
finally
essentially
right.
just marriage therapy.
We've thought about that. We're like, you know what? People just need to do this because they will either figure out that they are not meant for each other or they'll figure out that they are.
Yeah.
Like one way or the other, you'll get your answer.
You're going to find out.
Yeah.
And nobody, I mean, we're all in a hurry. We want to find out. It's like, I don't want to wait 5 years. I want to know now.
Yeah, go do something
Let's
stressful.
go bikepacking.
Yeah. Go do something that challenges each other.
Okay, so how did that? It was your first event.
Yeah.
I mean, Kyrgyzstan's crazy. I mean, it's
Yeah.
crazy that y'all did this from road to. I mean, it is truly impressive and crazy, and I love it. What was the end result? How did that first foray into bikepacking go?
Yeah.
Well, go. You explain it much better than I do.
Well, the cool thing is we were able to win the pairs division for the whole race, which we didn't really have any expectations going in.
Oh yes, you did. Yes, you did.
I wanted to be competitive for sure. But you know what's funny is like we got home and we analyzed
She was so competitive. So we're coming down the final stretch. Final stretch meaning like 12 hours away. And she's like, I'm like, hey, we were both hurting really bad going down. We were going down this descent, and it was like the hardest descent of the whole race was in the last 60 miles. And I looked back and I said, hey, there's this guy coming. She's like, we got to go now. So, and we were both like, we could barely move. And, luckily we got to the road to where we're really good at specialists on the road. And we took off. We started team time trialing on the road. And the guy couldn't catch us anymore, right?
I was about to ask, is that allowed? Is whenever you're in pairs, a team?
Yeah.
In
time?
pairs,
Or
yes.
yeah.
In pairs, you can work together,
Okay.
yeah. But
You help
yeah,
each other with equipment.
exactly.
Yep.
You're
Yep.
in it together.
Yes.
It's just only y'all.
Yep.
Right.
Okay, cool. Okay,
Yeah.
so you finished Silk Road,
Yeah.
and what was the? I'm guessing there might be different answers from both of y'all, but you walk away from that event feeling what?
It's her story, my story, and reality.
Okay.
That's exactly how it
3
works.
stories.
So
No.
please share your story, and then I'll tell you what reality is.
Yeah.
Perfect. I
I
love that.
literally am laying in bed after finishing the event, and we're completely worked. Like so I've never felt so tired in my whole life, but I was at the same time just buzzing with this excitement for what we'd just been able to do. I loved it. And so I tell him like 5 hours after we finished Silk Road, I'm like, hey, I really want to plan another one. He's like, you're out of your mind.
Yeah, no, she was out of her mind, for sure. And then my experience on that same bed that we were laying at when we're just like we can't even move because our bodies are they're so swollen, and she's already thinking about the next thing to do. And I'm like, you know what? It's like the best time I've had with Scotti in the last 5 years because of where she came from, with her, just feelings about cycling and about her performance, to experience something that's so difficult. And then we're sitting there, I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm in it too. Let's do it. Let's see what's next, because I think we're going to grow from this together.
What made that experience so great for you?
Just the teamwork, right? Like, she had her role, I had my role. She was supporting me, like when we first met, like she was supporting me in triathlons, and I was supporting her in coaching. And this time she had plenty of knowledge, of her own that she was sharing with me. She was keep making me tougher, and at the time I was giving her comfort or making her tougher, whatever that was that we were experiencing. And I just, I loved it,
It's a beautiful story.
Yeah.
Y'all both like provided and helped each other, and then like you kind of came together, for this event, and like really were just on. I mean, I guess you're always on the same team, but playing different roles. This time
we're not always on the same team, but yes. But hey, and we were not on the same team, just to go back to that, because, she was having such a bad experience with cycling, even though she was doing really well. She didn't think she was. And we would just argue about how, I'm like, hey, you got to just chill out. Chill the fuck out about your career. It's like, you're doing really good. She's like, no, I'm not. I suck and this and that. And I was like, in her road cycling career, it's like, well, then you got to give it up. And she's like, well, I can't give it up. I'm good. Well, then you got to stop doing that to yourself then. So we were having we were just bumping heads so much that when she found this, I was so scared for it. I was like, because it's gonna be make or break. It's either in or, and I knew from what she was experiencing that what she needed to do in road cycling was to get tough, right? And the reason why she started this whole adventure, self-exploring with bikepacking, was to learn to get tough, right? So she had that expectation.
Oh man,
right?
I mean, I can't imagine being able to ride Silk Road and then put that in perspective to 100-mile road race and be like, oh man, I'll go back out there and kick that in the teeth.
Yeah. So, and it took for us to come together finally, and her realize, you know what, like, you've been helping me for the longest time. And then she realized that when we were out at the Silk Road. And then I was like, and me like absorbing that and like looking at that and saying, yeah, she does believe in me after all, and just being out there. I tell her that I don't want to do any more of these by myself ever again. And she's like, I want to do it by myself. I want to learn something more about myself. I'm like, I'm not going to do it myself. So it just, I fell, secretly in love with it because of what it's teaching us.
Yeah.
As individuals and as a couple.
Yeah, I totally get that. I mean, you were talking about the bicycle as being a vehicle for change. Is that and I think it's just magnified in bikepacking, where you literally can survive the elements and the terrain, and you're very capable of, like, there is no vehicle that's going to come and get you.
Right.
So when you have that in your back pocket, just as a human, and you start to tap into what you're truly capable of and realize how much of a badass you are, it just helps you in your life just be more confident and put things in perspective and everything. Like,
and the cool thing is, like, you don't have to, that race was so hard that even if you weren't racing it all out, it was still really freaking hard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to be competitive in terms of like trying to be.
Coming from the roadside, like
Yeah.
you don't have to be find a race to compete to make it that hard. It's just hard in itself.
Yeah.
From the experience.
Well,
But
I mean, that's one thing that's great about bikepacking. You have the Tour Divide where you have 60-year-olds that are out there doing it in 30
And I
days,
love
and
that.
you have
Yeah.
I mean, it's so wonderful.
Yeah, like everyone's
Yeah.
riding that same course.
Everybody is on the same course doing the
Yeah.
same thing, and they're all struggling probably equally, but at different levels. And it's more of a measuring stick against yourself than it is,
Exactly.
you know, that
That's
peloton.
what I really
or-
gravitate towards
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
So let's take that into, was the next event Arkansas?
Well, we came back from Silk Road, and it was about, this past summer, 2019, was the first edition of the Arkansas High Country Race.
Yeah.
And our friend Chuck Campbell spent, a couple years just making this massive route that goes all through the western side of the state. And, we'd ridden some of these gravel roads, but he really connected some of the soul, the soul roads of Arkansas.
Yeah.
That's a good
These
word.
roads that are kind of forgotten to cars, and you're just out there, and we were like, man, why don't we showcase that a little bit? We're from here. We love gravel, and it'd be a great place for us to just train and go through the ropes of what we're trying to learn, which is bikepacking.
I mean, it's in your backyard, so
Yeah.
might as well take
Yeah.
advantage
Exactly.
of it. I just want to interject real quick.
Yeah.
For anybody listening, Chuck Campbell, I interviewed him for the podcast. I believe
Nice.
that was episode 9.
Okay.
So, if anyone wants to go back and kind of and hear from the guy who created the route,
Yeah.
it's a great story of how. It's actually a really cool story about how the route came to be.
we don't even know that story.
Oh,
Yeah,
you don't?
I
Well, you
feel
gotta
No,
go listen to
I
the
know.
podcast.
We're gonna have to do that. Yes, definitely
But
have to do
yeah,
that.
I mean, it's a great story about the American Cycling Association and also the state of Arkansas believing and wanting to help. Like, yes, we believe in this. Let's make it happen. We're going to support you. What do you need? Let's do it.
Cool.
And
Yeah.
to piggyback on that, the reason I'm here in Arkansas is because the tourism board has invited me out to come and preview the route. So
Cool.
Today's Thursday?
Yep.
Thursday?
Yeah.
So tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. we roll out, and Brannon Pack has a group, and we're going to go
Sweet. That's
preview
awesome.
about 150 miles of the route. 15,000 feet of elevation and 150 miles.
Yep. Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess
Do you know what part of the course you're gonna be doing?
I'm gonna go from Fayetteville to White Rock.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
White Rock.
Yeah.
And then basically the second leg is a 50 miles that connects over to part of the route over here. So
Okay.
we're riding like 100 miles on the route, I think, and then
Okay.
50 miles will be a connector that's not actually on the route.
Got it.
To give me a good idea for the terrain.
Yeah, I think they've made like if you can buy or get the course in different segments. So you got the southern loop, you got the northern loop, and then you got this other little loop that's like
Yeah.
off to the
I
left.
think there's
Yeah.
four mini
yeah.
loops
Gotcha,
and then
yeah.
one major
Right.
1,038 miles or whatever
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
is the main Arkansas high country route.
Right.
So I guess while I'd like to hear y'all's experience with that route,
Yeah.
and then also what I'm looking for tips. What can I expect? I'm a
Yeah.
flatlander at 278 feet elevation.
No, you'll be fine. If you have the right gears, you're gonna be fine.
I'm gonna be good.
Yeah, you'll be good.
I'm ready.
It's all about gearing for sure. Plus, you gotta find there has to be a little soul searching there, right? Has to be a little hard somewhere.
I look forward to it. You do. I mean, part of it is figuring out where your limits are, breaking through those and then just keep going. And that's one thing that I've personally learned from bikepacking is now I know that I have these like mental blocks. And once I break through those, then it's just a series of like, oh, I thought I couldn't do that. Now I know I can. And it just keeps going. So whenever I hear about people doing things, I don't think to myself, oh man, there's no way I could do that.
That's crazy.
My mindset is now like, oh, I could see a path to get to where they were or are or whatever.
Well, the reason why I'm sorry, Scotty. The reason why I said is bikepacking is because during Silk Road there was this one segment of the course that we were on the Chinese border, and it was just like the flattest road of the whole event, right?
And paved.
And we loved it. Scott and I loved it. Everyone else hated it.
Yeah.
Every other bikepacker, they hated that portion. We're like, we're home. We can ride forever. We don't have to stop
And really,
pedaling.
you're thinking we're gonna leave these suckers in the dust. Time to make up
Yeah,
some ground.
we made up a lot
I
of
bet y'all did.
a lot of
Your
time.
home. You're like,
Yeah.
we're gonna show these guys something real quick.
So that's why you're gonna be fine. You know, I think pedaling on a flat road without any rest is a lot harder than climbing up a mountain.
Yeah.
You know, because once you get to the top, you get to rest when you go downhill.
And then there's that beautiful down.
Exactly. You know, when you're on the flat road and
then
it's windy, forget about it. There, you can't stop pedaling, or you're gonna fall over.
So tell me about that. I am eager to hear about y'all's experience on the high country route. How did it compare to Silk Road?
Yeah. Well, the cool thing was, and we went back and looked at Silk Road, and what we, like Ernie said, there's my story, his story, and then there's reality.
Oh, right. We didn't.
And we thought that we had, killed it and whatnot, but we really didn't. Like we looked back and checked out some of our overnight stop times, and man, there was one night where we were stopped for 11 hours.
Oh.
We were like, what? We thought we'd stop for
You checked into the La Quinta Inn.
Basically.
Almost. It was. You know what that place was? It was a horse stall with a bunch of poop that was keeping us warm.
Nice.
Yeah.
So it was La Quinta.
Yeah.
But there were several nights where our perception, we were so tired that we thought we were stopped for just
3 hours.
5 hours at the most. And then you go back and you look at it and you're like, damn, we were there half a day.
Yeah.
Yeah, our
You
dot
realize-
watchers were like, "Hey, are these guys alive?"
I'm
We were
there
stopped so
people
long.
Like, what are they doing? But
Everybody else is moving. We're still stopped.
Oh, those damn dot watchers.
so I was showing Ernie and I were looking at it together, and we were like, man, we could do so much better. And that's the cool thing is, even if you're not competing,
That's
like
why
there's
this
just
race started.
there's just always a place to get better, and that's what I love about cycling. So when we were looking at the high country route, we were like, wow, this is our backyard. We really would love to just tackle this and practice some of these strategies that we want to do to be better at bike-packing racing. And so
you got to practice.
So by
gotta
looking at it, when you look at an event, you like a year out, you plan for it, like a month. That's how we look at it. It was only a month before we're like, hey, let's do that. Call Chuck Campbell tomorrow. We're gonna do it in a month. I'm like, no, we're not. She's like, yes, we are.
A month after Silk Road?
No, it was 2, 3.
it was 2 months.
2 months.
2 months
2
after.
months, yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's still not a lot of recovery.
We figured that
Yeah,
out.
we figured it
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Another learning thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it does take a long time to recover from those. And but anyway, we got the course and everything, and we were our goal was, hey, let's try and deprive ourselves of sleep this time. Like really.
We're home. We can call Uber.
That's the thing, man.
Yeah.
I tell people that, like, you can like go hard if you have someone you can call.
Yeah.
Like you can really do whatever. I mean, as
And
long as you got that get out of
We're not in
trail.
Kyrgyzstan,
Yeah.
we're in Arkansas. and
everybody
we speak
speaks
the
English.
language, and we're going to be okay. And so of all the places to train and try these strategies, this is a great place to do it. It's a challenging course, but we have certain comforts here that we don't have when we go to foreign countries. And so
Southern food.
and so, yeah, we have biscuits. No, but we went out to do the high country, and we were both just like constantly looking at each other like, what the hell? Like, we didn't even know that some of these climbs existed in Arkansas. And, this is our home state, and it was hard.
It was just as much climbing as Kyrgyzstan.
Yeah, like the elevation gain is the same as the Silk Road mountain race. You just do it in smaller chunks, which is funny because it almost seemed harder because you never get in a rhythm. You're just grinding up. The climbs are steeper here. So the gradient is maybe 13 to 15%. And you've got your 45-pound bicycle, and you are just creeping.
Takes you an hour to get to the top and 10 seconds to get to the bottom.
I know.
Yeah.
That wasn't long enough.
And then you just start over again. And it was pretty wacky. We were feeling pretty good about ourselves on day one, but we realized like we'd done the easiest part on day one.
We did. We looked at the profile.
Did
We're
y'all
like,
go counterclockwise or clockwise?
we went clockwise.
Clockwise.
Okay. Yeah.
And we
That's
started
one
from
neat
Little
thing
Rock.
about the event is you can race it either direction.
Yeah.
That is
Like,
crazy.
it's the rider's choice. I've never heard that.
That
before.
that
haven't
is
either.
crazy. I've never
Yeah.
heard that
I'm like,
before.
huh, interesting. So you could like look at the wind, look at the weather,
Yeah.
kind of plan it out a little bit and figure out what your strategy is going to be.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, I think the way that I think it's going to start in Fayetteville this year or something like that.
Fayetteville, yeah.
So the first part of the race from last year, like if you went clockwise, it's the hardest part. But if you that would mean that it's the last part if you were to start in Fayetteville, and it's the hardest part of the race.
The what part around White Rock?
No, before that.
Yeah, the whole section
The
from
whole,
the
like-
Oklahoma border up
Yeah.
to Fayetteville
It
is
is
probably the
so
toughest
hard.
section.
Yeah, well, actually, from Little Rock, actually from when we hit Hot Springs to Fayetteville is really difficult.
What makes it hard?
Just like the
Massive
pitchy climbs.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
and it's not, some of those don't have smooth roads. You know, he's
Yeah.
followed a couple of ridge lines that are definitely not kept up in terms of road quality. And so you're dealing with chunky gravel that's just slow. You
Yeah.
can't bomb the descent. So
Maybe
you're
we
not
just got
carrying a lot
lucky
of
and got all the
speed.
chunk gravel when we did it.
Yeah, it depends on when the maintenance
Exact-
crew went
yeah.
out last.
True.
That's another fun thing about gravel is you never,
never-
really know.
Yeah.
Yeah. A bridge could be gone.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly.
And we
actually, there
also-
was a bridge gone when we went right before Fayetteville. There was a bridge gone.
Really?
Yeah,
And we had
we
did
had to cross
Well,
the
the
creek.
rain in Arkansas
Yep.
right before you did it was, I believe, some record-setting.
Yeah.
It was cold, which it won't be in June. I mean, everybody will have different challenges doing it in June than what we
For
had
sure.
in
Yeah.
November.
And then the other thing, it's just November when it's cold. You know, when we were in Kerg, it's just dry cold, right? And when you're down in the south, you know, it's like humid cold, right? When you're just wet all the time.
That's what I
So
know.
from our experience, we when we were in Kyrgyzstan, we would put, you know, our clothes. They told us to do this, and it worked well in Kyrgyzstan because that's all we knew. You put your wet clothes in between, your body and your sleeping bag, and it dries out.
Yeah.
We tried to do that here. It didn't work. Like we were
Our sleeping bag just got wet.
Yeah, yeah.
So we're like, that's not working.
That's the same in Texas where I am.
Yeah,
It's like
you know how that is.
it's just wet all the
Yeah.
time. You
Just
hang out
don't
to
dry.
dry.
Yeah.
I've got
Yeah.
to the point where I started sleeping in it. It just doesn't matter because then you don't have to put on wet clothes in the morning.
That's
you
worse.
know?
That's
That's
so-
the worst. I would rather just sleep in it.
Yeah, at least it's
At least you're
warmer.
warm for a little
the
bit.
dirty truth of bikepacking.
Right?
It is. You know, because it's funny when we first started doing this. We're like, so how many? We asked Jay. He's like, how many shorts do you take? And he's like, what are you talking about?
I honestly thought he was gonna say like one a day.
Yeah.
I thought that people packed new shorts.
Yeah.
Like that's kind
I'm
of.
sorry,
a-
I'm laughing.
it's kind of
I've
a-
been there too. I remember
Oh
when
my
I
God.
found out.
It
I'm like,
is.
wait, y'all are sleeping in the same clothes? I was
Right.
on an event or
Yeah.
a ride, a group ride, bikepacking trip, and like they were just sleeping in their clothes, and I had brought
know.
extra, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't.
Right?
If you bring
I mean,
extra, you're not cool.
It's a standing rule among road cyclists.
Well, you
that-
gotta carry it, man.
You gotta
Think about
carry it,
those
yeah.
Climbs and 1,000
Yeah.
miles, and it's like a pound. You're like, no.
Yeah.
I'll-
Still, like you do a 3-hour hard training ride when you're a roadie, and you get out of those shorts immediately.
Yeah.
And here I am, like realizing that I'm going to be in the same pair of chamois for days on end.
It's
Yeah.
gross.
And I had a moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A moment.
Yeah, it's just gross.
Just-
But enough about that.
Yeah.
So how was the route overall?
Route is beautiful. It's really incredible. You know, they call it the natural state for a reason, and it's so natural. It took my breath away. Honestly, you know, I had there was a place in my heart for the state. Now after doing that, I mean, there's some amazing backcountry roads that people need to go check out for sure.
No.
You know, because it opens you out, you know, your eyes to different times. You know, and that's the beauty of bikepacking.
Yeah, I think it's funny for people to hear about Arkansas being on the map for cycling. They've been in the bikepacking community really developing kind of a name for themselves as far as great infrastructure, and now gravel and bikepacking. But it's all because the state is just bought in and they realize the benefit of it. But the natural beauty is what I think a lot of people don't realize, you know, is the natural beauty and the climbing. I'm kind of nervous about the climbing.
It's a hidden.
I'm looking forward to it, but
Yeah.
if I'm sitting here with two ex-professional road cyclists and y'all are telling me how hard the climbing is, and I'm just like some dude that drinks beer and rides bikes.
Nice.
No, I'm like,
I love it.
I'll tell you what though, I'm going very lean on this. they've got it set up where we're staying in a cabin at night.
Oh, sweet.
You know,
That's
and
awesome.
so, I mean, it's a really primitive cabin, but we have a place to stay. So
Yeah.
don't need to carry a tent. And then there's food along the way.
Yeah.
So I'm not taking any food. I'm not taking a stove. I'm not taking a tent. I'm taking
wow.
a sleeping bag and clothes and 2 liters of water.
Yeah.
That's all I'm taking.
And whiskey.
Oh, and I do have a flask of whiskey.
Perfect.
100%.
Can't leave home without it.
There are priorities, and
Yeah,
that one is
definitely.
the highest priority.
I don't need the shorts. I need more whiskey.
Yeah,
Right?
I don't need that. That's exactly right. You make choices in life.
That's right. You have to.
But now
If I drink the whiskey, I'll forget about my shorts. Don't worry about it.
Exactly. Yeah, you gotta have that whiskey, man.
Good stuff.
So, how hard is the climbing? Like, what am I in
man.
for?
Okay.
Regular guy rides bikes
From
drinks
Texas?
beer from Texas.
Ooh. I
'Cause
guess
I want to get an idea, and then I'm going to do it, and then I'm recording a podcast with Brannon
after?
and Chuck after we
Yeah.
get done.
Do you actually climb White Rock?
Yes, they have
No.
to.
Okay.
They
Yes,
have
I
to.
know
You get
we
to that
do.
top of the,
Yeah.
and then plus,
And we're staying at
When
White Rock.
you
the
think
first
you're
night,
done,
the cabin is at White Rock.
I think that's one of the hardest climbs on the course.
yeah, and then when you think you're done, you're not. To get to the cabin, like that's the hardest part.
Yeah. It just goes on and on.
Yeah.
And
You're coming from Fayetteville, though, right?
Yeah, Fayetteville.
Ooh,
it's
it
not
might be.
it's not the kind of the thing.
It's supposed to be harder, I think, coming from Fayetteville.
Yeah, yeah. I think
Would it be?
it's like we did. It's like that one event we did. That
Yeah.
to
It's
White Rock.
hard
That's the
either
same-
way.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
hard either way.
it's hard either
It's
way.
gonna be hard. but if you have the gears, you're gonna be fine. You know, you just take your time.
I have a 3244.
3244. Ooh, yeah. We had a 3042.
That's
Yeah.
similar.
Yeah.
So that'll be
Either way,
fun.
you're going to be spending like 40 RPMs just grinding.
Yeah.
It's just one of those climbs. It's not something you'll have to walk up, but
It gets
is
steeper at the top.
just a slog. Yeah.
That is my goal, is to not walk. That,
Yeah.
you know, like no self-respecting cyclist wants to walk next to their
Right?
bike, right? So
Yeah.
if I can get through 150 miles, 15,000 feet and no walking,
Yeah.
I will be so happy
Yeah.
with it. So what was the end result for that? It was an event. It was a
So yeah, we just kind of we try to do a
Just
pair.
like a
Since they
self-supported-
didn't have a pairs like timer, we kind of did a pairs record. We called it to push ourselves and just to put
you let Chuck. I mean, who do you call? You're like, hey Chuck, I just
Yeah.
want to let you know we're gonna
Chuck.
go out and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we're gonna give
We did.
it hell. We're gonna start this time. And you
Yep.
did the spot tracker.
That's exactly
Yeah,
what we
spot
did.
tracker.
Yeah,
Okay.
we set it up with track leaders, and they let you run what they call an individual time trial.
Yeah, yeah.
And so they already had the course routed, and they knew where we were going to be, and that way people could follow along as we killed ourselves.
Yeah.
So what was the end result of?
Yeah, we did the course in 5 days, 18 hours and change, I
Yeah.
think it was. And we'd really wanted to hit that 5-day mark around there because we knew that would really push our limits. But yeah, it's the current fastest record that we know of.
6 days, 8 hours, something like that, and
Was the solo record.
the solo record.
Yeah, the solo record that was set the first actual race. I don't remember the guy's name. Do y'all?
Oh, no.
know.
I don't.
Sorry.
But the
Sorry.
course was a little different as well, right? I think because of all the rain, they changed the course.
There was massive flooding last summer.
Yeah.
And Chuck had to reroute a couple of sections of the course last year.
Yeah. So when people were watching us, we were coming back into Little Rock, and
Our phones were blowing up. You guys are off course. You guys
Yeah.
are off course.
yeah, we did the
Yeah.
actual course, and then the guys took a detour that went a little bit more towards the east, and we came back west, and then dropped down along the river valley and came back in that way.
So you beat the record by like 8 hours or something
Something like that, maybe less. Oh no, 8 hours. Yeah, 20,
around there.
28.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is
You're-
fun.
you're the
It's
math
fun to
person.
have
12
a
hours, I
new
think.
event like this. We got the roadies coming in,
Yeah.
setting some times, and then the bike packers gonna be like, "Man, we can't let these roadies show us
Right?
what's up."
No, it's funny because Jay called us when we said, "Hey, great job, guys, but you know that can be ran faster." And we're like, "We know, Jay. You're Jay."
Okay, I just stopped recording. And okay, all right, we're good.
I-
Yeah.
They say that a pairs can never beat an individual rider on an event. Right?
Really?
That's the word on the street from all the
Okay.
All
solo
the
riders.
experienced
All the
solos.
solo fast riders, like there's no way that a pairs can beat a solo.
Solo.
So we're
Well, I was about to ask, what is next for y'all? Does that foreshadow?
it kind of does. So I
That
think
gives you the carrot that you've been looking for.
it really does. Right. So it gives us the carrot to kind of push ourselves a little harder to see if we can beat like the individual riders, which I think they're amazing, and it takes twice as long. But I think if we're efficient enough and you become a good team, that we might have a chance to get better at beating a
This
single
is
rider.
interesting. So 2 potty breaks, 2
Exactly.
2 of everything.
Yeah.
you
2
know?
breakdowns and of gear.
2 flats. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just like it multiplies everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now are y'all focused on just learning to be as efficient and work together? And
Yeah.
It's
I
funny.
love it.
I was telling him I felt fitter last summer when we went to Silk Road. I haven't been able to put as many hours on the bike this winter. We're doing Atlas Mountain Race next, and so my fitness it's decent, but it's not as good as it was last year. But I feel like what I do have now is at least some prior knowledge of what to expect, and the mental side of this sport is really where it's at. And so I feel better prepared in that department.
so are y'all going to be doing Arkansas High Country Race again?
We're definitely going to be in the neighborhood. We're trying to.
We're trying to figure out what's next, and
Yeah.
that's definitely one thing. We were thinking of going to Ireland, and there's another event in Ireland, right?
Scotland.
Scotland.
But
Scotland.
it's our home event, and so we're definitely looking into being in some form or fashion a part of that event this summer.
Yeah.
Where is the support coming from for y'all to be able to do these events?
No, honestly, that right now, like for the gear, Trek has really hooked us up. I hear the store, and Kelly is the store manager for Little Rock, and he's hooked us up with a bike. We didn't have the correct bike for Silk Road, and then this next event in Morocco, Atlas Mountains, is going to be really similar terrain. So we were able to outfit our bikes with with the help of Trek Little Rock. And then financially, we just did. We took some pictures of our Silk Road and then the other events that we've done, and just put a little piece together and had a
community
fundraiser for us. Yeah.
Yeah, we've committed to each other and to our community to give back in terms of, hey, we're gonna go do this thing, and that is for us, and we're selfish a little bit in that pursuit because we want to grow ourselves, but the end result is to bring that home and share it with people. Like, I want to go push myself to my limits so that I can come and tell people what that feels like, and show them, hey, you're so much more capable than you think you are.
Yeah.
What's your push going to be this year, and how can we help you? And so we own a coaching business.
Yeah, I was gonna ask.
And
Sorry,
traditionally,
Gina.
we've worked with mostly road cyclists because that's our background and our knowledge base. But it's funny because this year we've been approached by people that are doing gravel and people that are wanting to bike pack. And I tell people on the front end, like, we really don't know what we're doing yet.
Yeah, we're posers.
But
We're just posers trying to make it work.
yeah.
Aren't we all?
Oh yeah.
But that's our bread and butter, is our coaching group. And
And why don't you plug that so people can reach out to you?
yeah,
if they want
it's
to.
called LeBorn Coaching. And
Spell that.
LEBORNE, and it's a combination of our 2 last names.
Okay.
But yeah, we're really big on sharing what we've learned with others. I mean, that's the really rewarding part, especially Ernie. I think he didn't really spend much time on it, but he's a cancer survivor, and what he's been able to achieve after having gone through something like that is really amazing. And so he doesn't talk about it very much, but I think it's a pretty cool story.
You want to talk about it?
Yeah, I mean, sure. No, yeah, it's so I was racing.
I'm sure there's some people that could probably benefit from hearing about.
Yeah.
It's just funny the perspective when you go through some life-changing experience like that. At the time, not knowing it, I think just changed my perspective in life, and I think that's why I became more of a helper than helping people out instead of searching for a pursuit for me for my cycling career, because like I got a second chance to help people out, and maybe that's how I saw it. I don't know, I wasn't selfish enough, blah, blah, blah. But when you go through something like that, I think everything else in life gets easier, and it's really similar to bikepacking. When you're out in the cold and you're struggling out there, it makes it seem, just like that. Like, you don't know what's going to happen out there. right? You don't know what's going to happen when you have cancer. You know,
Yeah.
it's like you kind of just left out to whatever, you know, the higher powers are to help you out. So, you know, I take it to heart. And
What kind of cancer did you have?
Testicular. I had testicular cancer.
So you and Lance, huh?
Yeah, me and Lance. It's funny. We were doing this one race in New York City, and he had just gotten back from the tour. He won his like 800th Tour de France or something like that, and and then we were up there. He was first pulling, and I was in second. And our team director was, "Hey, there goes a pair of balls right there." So that's pretty funny.
That's good. It's nice that you're around to be able to laugh at that.
Yeah, exactly right.
I mean, I don't even know how to ask this question, but like, were you in a situation where your life was that like you didn't know if you?
You know, so
Tell them where it's
so it spread. Yeah, it spread to my abdomen, to my lungs.
Nice.
You know,
Yeah.
and then I had about 6 months of chemotherapy. And, they were able to shrink it down to where they only removed 2 lymph nodes near my spine, right? Which
How
was
old were you?
21. So I had I went, that was my best year ever. It's when I won Mexican Time Trial Nationals. I was doing really well in the States, and then Mercury picked me up that year. And it's funny because my whole dream since I was a kid, and sometimes I would pray for it, it was like, all I want to do in my life is to go to Europe, race one day, and I can die the next day.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much almost what happened, right? So I raced the under 25 Tour de France, right, which is one of the better races in the world. And I got to do 2 stages, and then I crashed the 3rd stage. I tore my ACL. My knee was like so swollen, so I flew back to the States. Luckily, I crashed. And
that's when they found it.
That's when they found it.
Oh man, that's crazy.
So be careful what you wish for, right? Because it does really happen. And the thing I believe that helped me out was, so I found out I had cancer, and I did not tell my team director because I took it very lightly. I was like, you know what? I have a swollen testicle. They're gonna go in there. They're gonna remove it. It hasn't spread, and like I'll be back. So I'll be back training by training camp in 3 months, right? That was my mindset. I'm going to be back on my bike in 3 months. And I didn't want to tell my team director because I was afraid that he was going to kick me off the team. So my friend doctor was like, "Hey, Ernie, this is really bad. Like, you have to go to the best way for you to get treatment is for you to go to the ER room and tell them that your testicle is swollen and that it hurts. That's all you have to do, and they're going to take care of you." So at the time, I went to USC Medical in California, Southern California, and I did exactly what he told me. And I went in there, and it was really cool because I got Lance Armstrong's colleagues. He was my doctor, right? So they went back and forth on how they treated Lance. So that's pretty much how they treated me.
Wow,
interesting. So it was, really lucky that my friend doctor told me to go to that hospital to just say what I had to say, and then I was able to get help by pretty much.
They're like, well, we fixed Lance, and he seems like he's
Exactly,
doing all right.
right?
So why don't
Yeah.
we do that again?
Exactly. And it was pretty neat. At the time, I was sponsored by Oakley as well, and Stephanie, one of the ladies that sponsored Lance as well, she had him call me, and he spoke to me. He's like, "Hey man, you're gonna be fine, dude.
Wow.
Like, don't worry about it. It's
That's
all
cool.
gonna be good." So because of that, I was so bummed out that I crashed from like one of the best races in the world, for a development rider, and then 2 that like my career might be over, right? But I was like, there's no way like I can come back. So just staying really positive, and knowing that I was going to be back on the scene, I think that's what really helped me. I never once thought that I wouldn't be back on my bike.
Do you think that there's something there to your mental?
There has to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, there
It's like I
has
just
to be.
believe that
Yeah.
I can finish this race, or I can.
Exactly.
I'm gonna be back on the bike or whatever. Just like putting your mind in the right place.
Yeah, I mean, there's no other choice, right?
Yeah.
And
That's exactly right.
yeah, there's no other choice, and I think that's how like I personally take on these adventure races. Like you get into the hardest race in the world, and Like there's no, we have to make it home.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it. Is just you take that quit out of the equation.
Yeah,
it's not there.
Yeah, it's not.
That's not part of the options that are available to us, and you really need to do that. You got to take it off the table. I mean, I haven't done 1,000 miles of Silk Road, but yeah, I mean,
no, but it doesn't have to be Silk Road. It could be
the thing is, like, once
life,
you understand that principle, I think you apply it just about anywhere.
Exactly. So that's what helped me get through it. And I try to pass that along. It's a little bit harder sometimes, and I never really talk about being sick because they're like, well, and that means you're like superhuman. It's like, no, I'm not. It's just how you think about it, right?
Well, it's great to have examples for anything in life, really. I mean, no matter what, everybody can relate to struggles. It's interesting how you've both come into, like, your struggle was your kids. It's not,
that sounds terrible. It's kind of true.
You got to be honest here.
I mean, carrying 2 humans in your body for 9 months fucks with your body. I know it messes with the biology, the chemistry, the physical.
It was hard.
It's not just like, oh, I have these 2 bundles of joy. No, my body.
There's no joy.
Like, what's that? Incubated or whatever,
And I wasn't one of those moms who was just like, oh, I love being pregnant. I really felt limited by it.
She never wanted to have kids. Like, I am not ever going to have kids.
Yeah.
And the higher power was like, yes, you are. Here's 2.
Yeah, that's all right. I mean, kids are one of those things. Is like, I there was a point in my life where I didn't want kids either, but once they're here, you're like, oh man, kids they're actually really great.
They're
pretty
awesome.
They're hard work and they take time and everything, but
they're amazing.
I mean, to circle back to what we were saying earlier about how y'all made it work, I think that's a great example for parents out there. I mean, it's something that I personally have I've sought out other couples who have done that and tried to like glean from their example and be like, okay, there are people out there who have done it. I met your kids earlier. They seem somewhat normal.
You haven't seen them in the mail.
I only met them for like 10 seconds.
Right.
I know.
No, but I mean, it's cool. It's cool. So if people want to follow along with y'all's journey and keep up with this, I mean, y'all are very much new to bike packing and really still figuring it out and on a
very
journey
much
yourselves.
Very much.
I think it'd be really neat for people to follow along, ex-pro racers into bike packers. And I'm curious if y'all are going to take down a solo racer now.
I know, right?
Just threw down the gauntlet.
Not too much pressure.
I know. I'm throwing that out there right now. They're coming after you.
I was hoping you can take that out of the.
No. That's going in.
He's like,
that was Jay's fault. He's like, that can't ever happen. I was like, oh damn it, Jay! Don't say never.
Man. You never.
Don't say ever, Jay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jay.
We all use those people, those naysayers, as fuel for our fires to go out there and be like, oh, no one can do it. Okay, well, we're just gonna sit quietly in the background. And So where can people follow along if they just want to keep up? We talked about your coaching business where they can find y'all, but what if they just want to follow your personal journey?
Yeah. Ernie's not the best at social media, but I try and keep up with mine, and it's Scotti Lechuga on Instagram. That's mostly where I do stuff. Facebook as well, but I'm
not. She posts for me, so that's the truth be out.
Ernie's a consummate whatever. Instagram, post it. Race, I'll go do that.
Yeah.
I'll do it. I'll try it.
Yeah. Well, cool. Thank you guys
thank you
for coming on.
Thank
Y'all
you.
have a fascinating story on so many levels, and I hope that we get to talk again soon because I think that it'll be fun to kind of follow up to hear what you learned through this process.
Cool. Would love to.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks. All right, everybody. Thank you all for tuning in. One thing I forgot to mention at the beginning of the show was that Scotti and Ernie Lechuga were actually participants in the Atlas Mountain Race that just, I guess, we just got a winner, Sophion, last night at probably about 11:30 p.m. here in America. He knocked out the entire Atlas route in less than 4 days. I think it was, I don't remember the exact time. But big shout out to Sophion for laying it down, not sleeping. You're a total animal. And I hope we need to chat soon. I need to catch up with him and see what he's got going on and see if he's coming back for the Tour Divide or what's going to happen. But yeah, Scotty and Ernie were also participants, but they had to scratch. It's a huge bummer. I know they are disappointed. I was hoping that when I release this episode, I could say, hey, go watch their dot and, follow along on their journey. But unfortunately, they had to scratch, ton of mechanicals, which happens. But I know that they will be back. I know that they'll learn from this experience, and I'm looking forward to just watching their story unfold as they enter this new world of bikepacking and switching over from being road cyclists. So I'm definitely going to be following their story as they continue onward. All right, so I did want to interject some personal thoughts on the Arkansas High Country Race. After riding 3 days on it and recording 2 podcasts and listening to them back, everybody is telling you to bring your gears. And I am just going to reiterate that because I didn't listen. I should have listened to Scotty and Ernie. I should have listened to Brannon. Bring your damn gears if you're going to do this route. It is steep. And other than that, I think you'll be fine. I really want to go back with proper gearing and give it another shot. I'm a little bitter. I want to go back and kick it in the teeth. But we'll have to save that for another day. All right, that is my words of wisdom for anybody who is looking to participate in this year's Arkansas High Country Race. I hope you do. I hope to see you there at the start line, June 4th, Fayetteville, Arkansas. Go to their Facebook page at Arkansas High Country Race to register. There's 24 spots left, and that's it. Go ride your damn bike.
You load up your bike, you ride away from home. You could be with your friends or you could be alone. You ride for a day or maybe more. You just love being in the great outdoors. Everything you need is strapped to your bars, including that new pillow you got from Santa Claus. And then you think, oh shit, to yourself. You left that super lightweight tent on the living room shelf. Bikes.